Welcome to Bay Rats and Buoys with your host, Captain Gage.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. I'm your host, Captain Gage. This is episode 13, and I am joined by none other than world-famous Chef Rob. What's up, buddy? Can't thank you enough for coming on to the show today.
Let me tell you something. I've been dreaming about this moment. You know what? I'm blessed to be here, man. The last episode, it's a big deal, and you're doing some awesome things. I love your podcast. I watch them all the time. My kids watch them. Thanks, man.
I appreciate it, buddy, and it's great to have you back up here. I mean, you moved down to the South Carolina, and I got to say, we totally missed you, so it's great to have you up here for the holidays. So
I miss you guys so much. I'm a New Yorker, and you know, when I'm down there, they're like, oh, you know, you settle in. No, I'm a New Yorker. I want to go back to New York.
That's why I never left. Anywhere I went and stayed, I wound up coming back. It's just New York has that pull on you, and I get it. I totally understand. Let's tell everybody a little bit of story, how me and you met, because it was, many years ago I was working at the Freedom Boat Club. And I think we owe it to Mark at Cow Harbor. I think he was the one that put us together.
He was always trying to put us together.
Yeah, he was like, you guys are like two peas in a pod. Rob's crazy. You're going to love him. He's nuts just like you. And I was just like, okay, I'll take that as a compliment because I definitely am nuts. And we had I was running the Freedom Boat Club at the time at Britannia Yachting Center. And I asked Mark to do a fishing seminar for the Freedom. I created a Freedom Boat Club fishing club. For the guys that were really into fishing at the Freedom Boat Club. And we had a seminar. Mark had the room there. We used it downstairs at Britannia Yachting Center.
Right under the bait shop.
Right underneath there. And it was awesome. And everybody that was there that night that attended was a Freedom Boat Club member except for you.
Yeah.
And so you basically came in and you were a seminar crasher, and I thought that was really cool because then if I knew how hardcore you were, that you were coming to this seminar and you really weren't even part of the club, and me and you wound up making the club. You know what I mean?
And you started speaking, and you really inspired me with what you said. I mean, I really don't know what you said. I mean, I guess you really didn't inspire me that much.
Yeah,
but we're here, bro.
But that's it. How many years ago is that? So it's awesome. And listen, we owe it to Mark and Phil over at Cow Harbor. Great guys and great shop in Northport. If you guys want to check it out, check out Cow Harbor Bait and Tackle. So that's my shameless plug for Mark and Phil.
They're the best.
Here on Bay Rats and Buoys. We love them. They opened up a new shop in Huntington this year. So they are expanding. And so now that we told everybody how we met, why don't you go ahead and tell all my dedicated and loyal listeners here for Bay Rats and Buoys a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, man. I've been a chef my whole life. I love it. I love cooking. I love fishing. I love hunting. I love gardening and harvesting products and putting together experiences and not only on the water, but hunting experiences and creating meals that, are harvested from the things that we catch, and grow and hunt. And to me, that brings happiness,
Yeah,
so.
Listen, you come on the boat, and we have a 2-hour window, and you're like, we're hunting every species. We have 2 hours, and we have to go out and catch every species before you get back for lunch because you got to have fresh fish, and that's what I love about you. That's me and you are just so much like that we don't care what the tide is. We don't care what the weather's like. We're just like, let's go.
That's it, man. And what makes you a great captain is you're gonna do everything in your power. You're gonna make calls. You're gonna figure out how to fulfill that vision of whoever's on that boat. And I love it. I love coming on your boat. I can't wait to do it again.
No, I appreciate you saying that. I really do. In fact, one of the best. I mean, we've had so many good trips. I mean, from Treway and Z, it's absolutely endless. But let's start off with Treway because his trip. Now, who's your photographer? Who's the video?
Which one? Oh, Treway?
No, the guy that you bring on the boat to film a lot of times.
Oh, that was Ricky.
So Ricky is on a charter boat, and he's on a party boat in the harbor there, and I'm backing up, and all of a sudden I hear him yelling to me. He's like, Gage, and I'm looking, I'm like, who is that? And I'm like, oh my God, that was Ricky. He was on my boat with Chef Rob. And he was awesome. So he had a great day as well. But I remember we got to Little Neck Point there in Centerport. And before we even went out into the Sound, we said, let's just go over here and put Jayden on some.
You knew it.
Gator Blues.
You knew it was going to happen.
100%.
Second cast.
His second cast. And you know what was funny? You know what he said? He was like, you got me blind casting out to a rock right now, 15 feet from the shoreline. He goes, no birds working, no sign of fish, nothing. And he reels in a 15-pound Gator Blue. In fact, you're netting that blue on the highlight reel that's on the homepage for SandCityCharter.com.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That was a great start.
That's how we knew that day was going to be epic. And that was only the start, because that day when we got out into the Sounds, we hit the Triangle. We didn't go anywhere, that we have to tell you, secret locations. We were actually smack dab in the middle of the reef. And and Ricky and Jayden and you had an epic blackfish and bottom fishing day. And I got to say, Ricky was doubled up, tripled up, and all. I had tons of pictures of him.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
That was the birth.
And a blackfish.
That was the birth of Walk It Back Johnny.
Walk It Back Johnny. You guys don't know it.
Jig
Nobody knows it.
Walk it
You're
back
gonna know
in
it
the
right
tide.
now. Walk It Back Johnny.
back
Well, we're taking, we're cutting the
by
crabs, we're
Johnny.
cutting the legs off, doing the basic stuff. But then it's like, you know what? We were getting big thumps. Big. And I'm like, we need Big John. I put the biggest crab on there, right through the back, and I put it in there, and Mark showed me this technique. Put it in the tide, drop it down, and walk it back until it falls into a hole. And as soon as that happened, bang, what was that, a 7, 8 pound?
Yeah, 7, 8 pound. I think it was 7.5 pounds, exactly. Spot on. Right. And we caught some small ones that day. Don't get me wrong. We had some funny pictures of you holding up a tiny one. Yeah, but that monster that you caught. And listen, that's just a good fish for our area. And that was a ton of fun. Walk It Back Johnny. In every episode of him on the GoPro, we are talking about Johnny's in there somehow. Even like the Cold Spring Harbor Blitz of 2023.
Yeah, that's something.
That was
people know that.
That was special. And that video, I mean, we have so much footage that day. You and me, that's what makes us so much fun, is when we get out there, it's not even just about switching up tactics and catching the fish. We want to record everything and document it and have it in a way that we could present it, that it looks really, really cool. And we did. We did underwater footage that day, but the footage you got even on your phone when the construction workers went by the ladder.
That was the best.
But I remember how that day started. It was 9:15 in the morning, and we're coming around. We're getting down Cold Spring Harbor. We're going to go back to the lab, guys. So everybody knows you go back into Cold Spring Harbor, and it was October. It was the Fall Run Johnny he's hooked up with. So in this case, it wasn't Walk It Back. It was the Fall Run Johnny. And you saw the birds before we even got back there.
300 yards out. I'm like, bro, they're there. Go.
He was hooting and hollering that the birds are back there. We couldn't wait to throw into them. And his first cast, he's got a Gator Blue on. And from that point on, that was epic. Lights out fishing. And, I mean, it was hours. It never stopped.
Never stopped. And we were trying. I used everything. I used diamond jigs. I was catching peanut bunker and putting it on little hooks, throwing them out. We were using bombers and swimmers. It didn't matter. It was like, let's see what we can't catch one on.
That was the first time that I threw a Chug Norris, and I have it on video of him underwater. That's how crazy it was that we had GoPros down below the water getting the bluefish, because it was just epic. The top water action was insane. The blitzes were so crazy, you didn't even want to throw into them anymore. I
just wanted to jump in there and just headbutt them.
And that's what I love about you. And speaking about jumping in and headbutting them, this year was the first year that I went spearfishing, and thanks to Jacob and Kyle for getting me out there. And thanks for working at Cito too, because I had to buy the gear to be in the water. So if I didn't have the gear to get in the water, and if I wasn't a commercial tow captain, I probably might have hesitated. But knowing I had the wetsuit and I had to be basics to get in, going with Kyle and Jacob was just epic. And you were my inspiration to that from previously. The pictures that you had, that you showed me, and the stories of Shinnecock and the fluke going down the hill. And, tell them a little bit about the spearfishing experience you had.
Yeah. I've been a private chef for a long time, and I've been in the Hamptons pretty much half my life. And Shinnecock was it was
like your Duck Harbor.
Yeah, it was my Zen place. And I had a spot. And it's no secret. There's a couple of spots on those rocks where you could catch good fish, working them rocks. But I would get in the water always get in the water and check out where the rock piles are. And I know there's big fluke down there, so I was down there with a spear gun. I had a pole spear, then I had a which one did I have? I had the pole, just a regular pole spear, 6 foot, with a trident spike on it. And I went down, and I was about maybe 10, 15 feet, but it goes down. It goes down like a shelf. And I went down as far as I can. It was 20 feet, 25. It was getting a little nuts. And I heard boats. And when you're down there, you hear boats. They sound like they're right on top of you, but they're pretty far away. So I was a little scared to come up, and then a boat's coming through because nobody pays attention over there with the boats. And I saw this fluke, no exaggeration, at least 10, 12 pounds. And he was going down, and I was following him, and I was going down, and I pulled back, and he just was out of reach, and I just couldn't go down anymore. It was like 25, 30 feet. I'm like, I'm out of breath.
You got to come up and do another drop, and by that time, he's gone.
Yeah, so that was pretty awesome. And then I went down there. I shot a lot of blackfish down there. I mean, down in Shinnecock, there's blackfish everywhere.
There's
triggerfish.
Yeah, the trigger.
Everywhere.
I love the triggers. Yeah. That's what Kenny from, and you guys, a lot of you guys out there know Kenny from Field and Stream, and me and Kenny used to go to. Not that we used to, we still go there, but he took me there specifically when the triggers were red hot. And I mean, I tied 35 rigs the night before because you're going to break off in the rocks. You're going to lose your weights. You're going to lose them, but catching them, those things hammer. And they're the best eating fish. You know what I brought it back to? I brought it back to Phil at Cow Harbor and gave him his first trigger fish to eat. And he said it was the best fish he ever had.
They're pretty good, man. Blackfish, black sea bass, trigger. Long Island is, I tell everyone, Long Island is the best fishery there is in the world. I've been around everywhere, but just because there's so many different species, so many different techniques, so many different styles, your boat, you're off the shore, you got sharks, you got, you name it, you got it. And they're coming in. All the species are coming in now.
Now, that was Shinny. What about the Nat Geo pictures that you have that showed me that made me want to go do it? But dude, that is like, bro, that's the deep blue sea. That's like that's where you got to watch out for the sharks.
Yeah,
that's real.
I was blessed, man, to be able to, I'd go down to Bahamas pretty much in Nassau. I go down 10 times a year for like 10 years straight. And part of my job was being a private chef, and I caught everything. I caught everything that we ate, the fish-wise. I'm catching mutton snappers. I'm catching, spearing giant lobsters, groupers, strawberry groupers, big groupers. And that was just from the shore. I was able to get on boats and take skiffs and anchor up and go in these caves and just, unbelievable. Sharks everywhere. Anytime I went, there was sharks.
Yeah.
So you just know that there's sharks. And they were, everywhere. But I'll tell you, one of the best stories is I shot like a 25-pound grouper, but I was about 30 feet down in the cave, and the current was kicking. And after I shot it, I had to go up and get air, but it was with a pole spear. So it releases, and it's just a spear in the fish. It had no string or anything on it. I get up, and then once you get up, you're over here now, and you have to swim against the current to get back in that cave. And I just couldn't figure out where the cave was, and I was swimming about 2 hours trying to figure out where that fish was. So, that was a pretty cool story. But the lobsters, shooting lobsters, just grabbing lobsters. Not even shooting them, just grabbing them and bringing them up, cooking them for lunch, cooking them for dinner, making...
Yeah, I see the videos now. They have stuff to put them in. They have these little
snares.
Yeah, they put them in. Yeah, pretty cool. And, there's signs at Shinny that say no scuba diving, no...
No spearfishing?
Yeah, it says it right there.
We got to rip those signs out.
There's big signs, but it's all right. It says it at all the state parks. You're not allowed to fly drones to catch sharks, but we still did it. It didn't matter.
Well, when you were doing it, you were allowed to do it, and that's where we really connected.
No, I still wasn't allowed to do it.
We did it anyway.
Yeah, we did it anyway. So and something. What's funny is the guys that were in charge at the beach all came onto the beach. Some of them held my rod for me. Guys that were in charge of the entire demo, he came over. He's like, wow, that's some serious telephone pole of a rod. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to bring in a 9-foot shark in about 10 minutes. And he watched me, so, they never once said anything. They saw the drone. They knew it was there. They knew I was flying the bait out. But, you're not allowed to fly a drone technically in state parks, so that is a no-no.
You were dialed in, though.
Yeah, I was dialed. I caught 53 that one summer, so that's going to be a whole podcast all on its own. I'm super excited. I'm going to show you guys how to make the shark rigs. I'm going to show you how I get the bait out there and how I release it off of the drone, the whole 9 yards. I'm going to show you guys how to do it. It was epic, and I want to show you guys. It was a great experience, and we got our kids involved. And speaking of the kids,
Yeah, man.
Your daughter back in Duck Harbor, where you were like the king of Duck Harbor, at one point in your life, you might still be, because you're in South Carolina, and you're calling me, you're like mid-ebb tide, back of the Duck, get back there, tell me how it's doing.
9:15, go.
There's bass jumping out of the water. You still have the intel, and you're half a country away from us. And I took your family out on a charter that evening. We left probably around 4 or 5 o'clock, and we went into Duck, knowing it was going to be nice and calm back there, and we knew the fish were back there. And your daughter caught the biggest bluefish that any kid has ever caught on my boat. That would have won. That would have won any year of the Wick Bluefish Tournament. That fish would have won.
Easily. Yeah. That was 17, 18. I mean, that was a monster.
And what's the phrase we came out of that one? That was the scream heard around Northport. when she hooked up with this, and she's throwing out an SP minnow. She's throwing out, I think it was an SP, something like that.
Yellow, like a bomber.
Something like that. Right.
It was a big one.
Right. Yeah. And she threw it out. She casted it, and she hooked up all on her own with this fish, and it tarpened out of the water. And
it almost pulled her in the water. I hooked her.
So I actually have the GoPro footage, and guys, I'll put the B-roll up, and I have the GoPro footage of me walking around the front of the boat, because I was on the back of the boat, and I walk around the front, and I'm like, put your hand here, and I'm helping her hold the rod, because this was a real fish. Like you say, this almost put her in the, so I got her off the bow of the boat and got her to step down onto the gunnel next to you, so that we were at least, we know she's not going in now, and we got high gunnels on the boat. That's nice. And netting that fish was a blast. So I'm holding the GoPro in one hand. I got the net in the other, and she's bringing the fish close to the boat, and you actually had to help grab the net because I got the GoPro going. And, I mean, what a fish. And what happened? Tell them what happened when we got back to the dock that night.
Oh, so this is one of my favorite stories as a father, and just fishing story in general. My daughter, she's a little nuts like me, and we had to take the fish back to the cooler because I was going to smoke the bluefish. And that's a whole nother podcast right there, smoking bluefish. And then she brought it back, and she was holding it. And we came to the dock right by Maroney's over there, and we're walking down the street. And she's prancing around, dancing around the streets of Northport with this giant bluefish. And my son's, egging her on, and we got good videos on there. You can check the Instagram. It's sick. And then we take it, we put it in the cooler, and then we're going to go out to dinner. And me and my daughter, we stink like tide, man. We're like low tide. I got scales on me, and we didn't care. Nobody, we were glowing.
No, you went to Skipper's, and you didn't care. You smelled like clammers. Yeah, fresh out of Duck Harbor.
They went Skipper's stinking it up.
Now let me ask you this. Where was the fish when you went into Skipper's?
The fish,
I put it in the car?
I put it in the Yeti.
Okay, you had it.
It didn't even fit in the Yeti.
It didn't even fit. Dude, I'm telling you, that bluefish would have won any year of the Wick tournament. And how old was she when she reeled that in?
What was that, 2003?
That was 20.
11,
that was
10. She was going on. She was 10 and a half.
And so your son too. It's not just Z.
Yeah, my son loves fishing. We got he's in the beginning stages. He was into it, and sometimes you take your kids fishing and you don't catch fish, and then they get frustrated and they don't want to fish anymore. And it's just like, hey, fishing. You can teach your kids a lot about patience with fishing. So
there's so many lessons out there. There's so many.
Yeah, and he's been catching sharks with me, my daughter. They're always in. They're in, man. And next time, anytime there's a bite or something, I'll be like, come on, kids, we're going. And they'll see the look in my eye, and they know. I'm like, it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's the excitement level. And like you said, it's teaching them the patience that if we do go and nothing happens and we don't get anything, it's still that quality time that we spent out there trying, because that's what that's the pursuit of going out there in your hopes that you get a tight line and you get, we all say that tug is the drug, but, it's really teaching them that etiquette of fishing, and I love it. And not only your son, your daughter, your nephew. I mean, forget about it. I mean, he's gone from freshwater to now he's catching tuna fish the size of me and you.
Yeah, my nephew, he's another level now, and it started when he was young. I guess he was 5 years old. I took him to Belmont Park, and I'm like, I noticed giant carp in there. So I made this dough with cereal and honey and cornstarch, and I made these dough balls, and I put them on these little treble hooks, threw it out with a popper, and we're just hanging. And all of a sudden, man, that popper went down, and it was a little rinky-dink rod, and I'm fighting this thing. I got to find some video for you.
That's going to be on sale at sandcitycharter.com. Bags of Chef Rob dough balls.
Yeah, we're going to make dough balls.
Not to mention his gingerbread house that's going viral right now. That's
going viral.
That's going viral right now.
Awesome.
The construction set of a gingerbread house. He's up here for the holidays 2 hours, and he's already wreaking havoc on the internet. That's what I love about him.
Yeah, I love it, man. You're the best.
Absolutely. And again, I mean, I just couldn't wait for this episode with you coming on here because when you're on my boat, we go out there, and there's not a trip that we have a dull moment that we can go out for an hour, or we can go spend 8 hours because we're hunting and we're just fishing all tide cycles and we don't care, and we'll go everywhere. We don't,
yeah, man. And I'm always on a time strain. I'm always like, I got to go back to work.
Right, you got to get back to Duck Harbor there, and and cook.
Yeah, I
which
love
is which is great, but yeah, and. That's something else that you bring to the table, like not just the fishing and the hunting and the venison. We'll talk, tell them a little bit about venison, but also, the gardens that you build at the places that you work to have the organic. I mean, it's just incredible.
It's
a lot of work.
We live in a day and age where who knows what's going to happen, but we have access to grow our own stuff, to
live off the land, literally live off the land,
or the sea, or the land, we can harvest our own animals. We can grow our own stuff. And it's just finding out information and just doing it. And it's not brain surgery, It's simple things. And I love it because there's nothing like fresh produce coming right out of the dirt and going on the table. It tastes a million times better. And any chef out there knows that. And the same with a piece of fresh fish that you bleed correctly and you fillet it down, and you put it with some fresh vegetables and herbs. There's nothing better. It's the best meal you're going to ever have.
I told him in last week's episode that you could whip up a sea robin into sashimi on a mega yacht for millionaires.
And I think I probably have.
And they would love it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And Corey is. I'll give Corey credit for that. He's not only for a young kid and somebody in their mid-20s, and I say he's not a young kid, but. He's really into cooking, and he's really into filleting the fish properly. He'll give you the cheeks. I know you want to take the whole fish. You want the head. You're going to make a broth.
Yeah,
it's like you add that whole element to it.
And you know what? You mentioned sea robins, and I'm gonna do it. I got the mic. I'm gonna do whatever I want. Listen, don't forget the sea robins. They're really good eating.
Larry Shavaro, you listening? This segment is for you, Larry. This is the Sea Robin Larry Shavaro segment. Go ahead,
we could do a whole segment on how to fillet them, how to bleed them, and how to really cook them correctly. You can't cook them the day of. You got to cook them the day after. You got to marinate them. You got to let them sit and rest because it's like a muscle. It's like,
you hear that?
Yeah. So
day after, don't cook it right away. You got to wait until after.
And same with blackfish. In my. That's what I think.
We definitely have a video of you on my boat holding up the sea robin and going into this whole thing like, are you guys kidding me throwing these back?
Yeah,
I mean, this is
silly.
What are you doing?
Yeah, and tell you the truth, here's a plug. I didn't even tell you about this. Or maybe I did. I know I told Mark. I caught a sea robin that was like 4 pounds, 2 ounces, or whatever it was. And I didn't think nothing of it. And I played with it. I got a picture. I'll send it to you. And then, I throw it back, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this has got to be close to some sort. I think the record's 4.7.
No, I think, and we actually could look it up right now, but I think the record's like 5 pounds, like 5.5 pounds. And we've all caught big sea robins that were like, holy cow, this thing's a good almost 4 or 5 pounds.
Yeah, they're a special breed. And in France, they call it red rouge. It's like sorry about that, Johnny. It's like a delicacy, and they charge a lot of money for them. It's the same exact red Gurnard or something like that.
There you go.
Yeah, it's like a Gurnard, and it's expensive.
And in New York, the Chinese do it too. They have
New York, the people
sea robin, $19.95 a pound.
Oh, yeah.
You know, And there's different kinds. There's a northern sea robber, and we get those red ones. The northern ones are a little more tan. There's different species of them, which is kind of cool. But I had kids on the boat this year that we didn't catch a lot. Like, Larry, you always joke about, that I'm the king of the sea robins. But the truth is, on our bottom fishing trips, if I caught, out of all my bottom fishing trips in 2024, if I caught 10 sea robins, I'm going to say that was a lot. I don't think we broke a dozen, and I'm not stretching it out by any stretch of the imagination. We really didn't catch a lot.
That's a miracle.
And it really is. Because usually we would say we're on a bird sanctuary, and it's a bird, the bird is the word.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know Captain Jimmy loves that when they start singing that on his boat. And
let's talk about bananas.
Yeah, so you know what? No bananas. And what's funny is, one of the captains gave me a sticker, and he has a sticker on his boat, and I thought it was pretty cool. So I'm like, yo, Kev, you got one for me? And he was like, yeah, I do. And I'm like, all right, I'll give you money for it. He's like, nah, don't worry about it. I'm like, no, I'll pay for it. It's a sticker. It's a really cool round sticker. I'll put it up here because I definitely have the cutout of it, and it's going to go on the website. And it says, absolutely no bananas on board. Now, I did an Instagram video that went viral. Viral was like 350,000 views. Didn't go crazy, but the comments that it got, and I've mentioned this in other episodes because one of the things that I say is, don't bring bananas on the boat. And I totally exaggerated with saying don't bring banana nut muffins, don't bring banana boat sunscreen, anything that had the word banana in it. So let me put this out there. If you have a sticker on your boat with a picture of bananas with a red line saying no bananas on board, technically, you have bananas on your boat. I'm not even putting the sticker on my boat, and I still have the sticker. So we go out of Huntington Harbor, and I know you go out a lot. In fact, the group you were just with, with Matt and the guys, Matt Serra and the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys. And
it was one of the teams, and we just went out fishing. And what happened was one of the girls brought a couple of bananas on the boat.
You were on the James Joseph.
Yeah, and they brought the bananas on there, and nobody knew. I don't believe in that at all. I've been eating bananas on boats, and I'll catch fish. I'll fish everybody with bananas. I'll wear a banana suit. I'll fish anybody.
Yeah, it's a myth.
Yeah, it's a myth. So, but, it was a little serious there, and the girl was eating the banana, and one of the mates just grabbed the banana out of her hand and threw it off and was pissed. And she had another piece that he didn't grab, and she was about to eat it. He grabbed that piece out of her hand and threw that in this. And he had no idea he could have been
twisted up in a pretzel.
Yeah, he could have been choked out dead in 2 seconds. But everybody had that grace.
By her, by nobody else but her. She could have handled herself. She didn't need you guys to jump in.
Yeah, so it was a little weird, but you know what?
It was one of those awkward moments on a boat.
Yeah, and it was educational too. It was like, hey. And she didn't know what was going on, and all the guys were ready to,
rip jump in and rip his head off because
he had no idea he almost died.
He had no clue.
Yeah,
that's another thing. You don't know who people are, so when you do something and you don't tell them why you're doing it. Just tell her, hey, excuse me, miss, there's no bananas on the boat. Yeah. Could you please throw that over? Now we were fishing at 15. I'll never forget this. I got a detective on the boat, and his son, and the uncle. And we're seeing fish, and we're not catching anything. And I just threw it out there. I'm just like, hey, anybody happen to have a banana on board? And the son looks at his dad, and he's like, Dad, you have a banana in your bag. I kid you not. The kid goes over and throws the banana in the water. Within a minute and a half, within 90 seconds, the rods are bending and striped bass are on the boat. And it was just funny because, guys, it's a myth. And, a little bit about the myth I could tell you is that when they used to take produce from one country to another, or whenever they were going from port to port, and they had bananas on boat, the bananas would make all the other fruit on that ship ripen faster. So they had to drive the boat faster than they normally would to get to the other port so that all the produce on the boat wouldn't over-ripen, that they could get it there in time to deliver it and offload it and make money. And if they had bananas on the boat, they had to drive the boat faster. And on those trips where they had to drive the boat faster, they weren't able to catch fish on the way. So when they had bananas on the boat, they didn't catch any fish. And that's part of the myth. There are a couple of stories to it. That's one of them. And you could look it up. I've looked it up many times, and it's very interesting. And, it's pretty funny that locally you guys went on the boat and almost choked and killed a mate on the James Joseph, which would have went over well in the community. We would have seen that in Newsday. Wouldn't have been the first time we've seen something funny in Newsday from Huntington.
That's awesome, man.
But you also use a lot of custom gear from Mark over at Cal Harbor. Your rods, you're very into your gear. Now,
it's all about the gear, all about the tools you use.
100%. And I preach that in a lot of the episodes, telling them every time I have an episode, I try to tell them something different that I use, whether it be an app, whether it be, some of the lures that I use, which I don't think I've mentioned too much, the Chug Norris, which is, something that I just love. I do fish a lot of Nomad stuff, and I told you I like the hooks when Corey was on. But talk to us about the rods and some of the gear, because you're really into that stuff, and I know it makes a big difference.
I really a lot of my experience came from Cal Harbor, especially Mark and Phil. They always gear me up. They gear me up. They give me insights, and I just take their advice. And Mark has made a lot of my rods, and in South Carolina, I have them all. They're hanging. I haven't fished much down there, but I can't wait to use them. And I've caught many fish, and I've had many experiences that went very well. They could have went bad because I had the wrong gear. How many times I snapped poles when I was young? I didn't know what I'm doing. But now I got the right gear. I got the right rods. I got the right, I like battles. I like, I got the VS, the VR. I love Lamy glass, for, certain things. But Century rods, I got, a couple of Century rods. I'm looking to get the weapon. I'll probably have Mark build me one of them little thin weapons.
Yep. Thin.
Those are the best.
That's
man.
like my RH custom rod that I have. That you in the video where it's bending in half in Cold Spring Harbor, the Blitz of 2023. Yeah, that thing was bent in half. So I just love those thin. And the smaller and the thinner the setup, I absolutely love it. I can't get enough of it. But yeah, Mark makes great stuff. And
I tie direct. I don't like clips. I don't like anything that gets in the way.
Yep.
Just direct. I keep biting it, tie it. I'll tie a fisherman knot, tie it, and that's my style, and that's what I do.
Phil says that to me all the time. He can't believe that I do a Palomar knot from braid right to a lot of lures, and I catch more fish than anybody on my boat, and I got proof of it. And Corey comes on board and he's tying 5-foot leader and 3-foot leader and all the fluorocarbon and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, no, mine goes direct. And I hook up all the time. And there are times where fish are finicky and you do want to have the fluorocarbon. So it's not that I do it because I don't want to. I do it because I just happen to hook up a lot the way that the technique that I use. And I do tie direct with a lot of stuff. But I do got to stock up on more TA clips and stuff like that at the shows this year.
And you put 20 fishermen in a room. There's 20 different ways they tie it, do this, do that.
That's fishing. And that's why I love, being in the forums on Facebook. And, big shout out to all the admins in the groups, because they share this podcast and they allow it to be posted, and it gets a lot of traction on the internet because of that. And anybody that wants to go subscribe to the YouTube channel, we've built that up. We got over 1,000 subscribers recently, which we said we wanted to do organically, and we have some really, really big news that we're going to drop next week. So the next episode is going to be in 2025. That's why this is such a awesome way to close out 2024, having Chef Rob on, because not only is he a chef, not only is he a fisherman, but talk about even your adventure with venison and how you're looking to, open people's eyes to that culture and cooking venison in a way that really could help people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, many people have this misconception, and a lot of people talk, it's gamey. You're gamey. How about that? How about I punch you in the face? How about I choke you now? Because you don't know what you're talking about. It's not gamey. There's certain pieces of venison that are gamey, and it is when you have a male that's in the rut, or a male that has that testosterone going through him. Males in general are a little more gamey, as you say, but I focus in on females that are from like 80 to 100 pounds, even a little smaller, and those are just like lamb chops when you do the venison. the back straps. It's the most beautiful meat.
You know,
any hunter will tell you the same. So I love it. I love harvesting deer. I haven't done much. I haven't done any in South Carolina yet. But when I lived here in Long Island, I had deer hanging from the rafters. I had to tell my wife. I come home and, babe, don't go in the garage. It's not
it's
good.
not nice
it's
in
not
there.
good.
That's
There's blood,
not
there's
nice.
fur, there's guts, there's stuff. And she knows it, but she, honors it. And I would have 4 hanging in the garage. And I would make, venison burgers. And I call them power burgers. I take, slab bacon and pork belly. And then I grind all the venison cuts that you're not going to really saute that much. And then I make burgers and jerky and you name it. And I love it. I miss it, so.
Yeah, Corey wants all your bucktails because, he wants to use them.
I think I gave him a bunch of tails.
Yeah, no,
he said, I gave him all my tails.
He told me you gave him a whole bunch of, I was jealous. I was like, wait, you got them all? I'm like, give me a couple.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's what I do this wintertime is I'll take the tails and I'll start making bucktails. But you know what? One of my videos recently on Facebook, and I say recently, we're, end of December. So, 2 months ago, on Facebook, got like 56,000 views, and it was a small buck, crossing the Sound. So I caught him crossing the bay, and he was in the Sound. When I saw him, I was already past the Coast Guard station, north, going towards Connecticut, towards the OB can, and I couldn't believe what I saw. And I was like, wow. So I've heard about them swimming all the time. How many times am I back in Duck Harbor? How many deer do you see back there all the time?
Yeah,
They're prancing around Eaton's Neck.
Yeah,
I hear on the way to the Coast Guard station, the road to get down to the Coast Guard station, I hear that, I pulled up to Corey's house. He lives on Ash Roken. I pulled up down his driveway, and they were, I'm in a Silverado, lifted, and there was a deer that was just so big that I thought it was fake. I was like, there's no way this deer is real. And then all of a sudden he turned his head and I was like, oh my God, this thing is like 8 feet tall. It was gigantic.
Yeah, man.
And you know what they do in Ash Roken? He's got these bushes that grow up like 8 feet tall. Well, they're like 6 feet tall, 7 feet tall, the deer, and they can only eat all the way up to the top. And they eat they skinny out the bush and they leave a big fat mushroom head. You know what that big fat mushroom head looks like? We were just talking about it today in a text message because the plants around his property all look like penises. And the deer, when they eat it, their saliva doesn't allow for it to grow back. So now these bushes all look like they're permanent penises on his property.
Penis bush.
That's it. So, Seth, you're going to have to take care of those. I said it was like kind of Edward Scissorhand meets Pornhub, when you go down his driveway now. It definitely looks a little erotic.
Oh, man.
But that's my deer story, and I'm sticking to it. And it's real. It really happened. We could show you the pictures of the bush, and pretty cool stuff. But yeah, that video went viral on Facebook, and I've had a couple of videos go viral in the last year or two, and one of them got 856,000 views, and that was because of my son. We were at the dock, and I'm throwing a cast net, and he just happened to take the phone out, and he takes the phone out, and he videotapes me throwing a perfect pancake with a 16-foot net, and it loads up with 50-60 bunker, which I wound up just letting them go. I only did it for a video, and we let them all go. I didn't even keep them. And that video got so many comments of people saying, hey, could you teach me how you threw it? And then I made a tutorial video.
That was a good one.
That tutorial video went viral. But guys, the best part about that video are the comments. Because people, they're just ruthless on the internet. Nobody, there's a few people that say, oh, it's a great video. I saved it. I love it. It's awesome. And then you got those guys saying by the time you threw the cast net, the fish would have left the harbor. And there's just so many funny comments. And that's what I love about the internet. You go post a picture of a fish on the internet in a group, and it might be the best catch of your life. And half the guys are going to abuse you. Half the guys are going to say it's a great, and then you got the keyboard warriors, the Karens. It's just, so I love the internet. That's what I love about it. And that's why I love doing these podcasts and putting them out there. We have such great listeners like Frank in Northport. He just wrote to me of everything. Last week's episode, I said, tell me what you're doing. It's wintertime. What are you guys doing? Frank told me everything that he fixed on his boat. He's 72 years old. He launches the boat out of Luco at the ramp there. So, Frank, I invited you out, but the season came to a close for us. And we'll get you out there in the springtime with us. But I can't wait to see all the upgrades that you did to the boat. I got a lot of upgrades going. And Speaking of upgrades, Santa Claus brought me an upgrade this year. I actually got a upgrade in my captain's license. So
Nice.
I was a 25 gross ton, and the Coast Guard sent me my upgrade to a 50 gross ton. So, it's nice to know my sea time isn't going to waste, and that, between commercial tow captain full-time and charter captain, my sea service time is adding up and equating to moving up the ranks, which I'm pretty proud of as far as being a captain is concerned. And
So what is that, like an aircraft carrier? We're talking cruise ships?
Yeah,
What
that
are they doing?
that's basically the Princess. No, 50 gross ton. That's not too big at all, actually. But we are we're going to put it up here on the B-roll because we're definitely going to need a bigger boat. And that's where this is going, guys. So so there's going to be some upgrades happening for Sand City Charter. Pretty excited about that. And now, the most recent post that I saw you were doing, because we're in the middle, me and Corey in the middle of building a few things, customizing some stuff. And, we were doing we have some custom stuff being made. And, Corey Customs, he's really, really good at epoxy and making the gaps. He's making me gaps out of my expensive hockey sticks that break. I play ice hockey.
He's
So
awesome.
he's awesome at that stuff. He made a sick pole for sea tow, a dock pole, an 8-foot-long bamboo that you show this pole to anybody and everybody's like, I want one. I just want one. You just see it and you're like, I just want one. You just have to have it. But you're doing a lot of woodwork now that I've seen recent posts of.
Yeah, I love it. I tell you, I've always been doing it. I built a dining room table about 12 years ago, refinished it using real exotic wood. It's called Babinga. Refinished the table. And then, I started posting the table and everybody's like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And I started getting wood from a mill down in South Carolina. The guy's pretty much giving me the wood away, and just started making charcuterie boards, bar tops, you name it. So, we're starting to launch into that just for something I do on the side. Half of the stuff I give away to people, that, help me with something. I'm a guy of gifts, man. I like giving gifts away,
Well, I was on your driveway. You were preparing for a big event. And you had to cool this out, but I saw the cutting board.
Yeah, that thing's sick.
Anybody sees that cutting board, you're like, I want one. Who wouldn't want one of those cutting boards?
Yeah. And there's a guy here in Long Island, Barton Woodworks. I'll put that up on the page. He makes them here. So if you ever need like a really sick cutting board or a carving board, or even he could probably make smaller tables. He keeps into that intimate thing,
Yeah, guys, any of the stuff that we mentioned here on the podcast, I'll be happy to put the links up to the woodworking that he's talking about, to Chef Rob's Instagram, so you guys could reach out and get in touch with Chef Rob and follow him and see all the incredible stuff that he's doing. We'll put Corey Customs. I'll put a link up here if you guys want custom rods from Mark and Phil at Cow Harbor. So we'll put all those links in the description to the video. And, the video, again, up on YouTube. So if you guys want to check it out, you can get a copy of it over at sandcitycharter.com. But, man, I can't believe we are this is it.
Yeah.
Christmas is behind us already. And New Year's is less than a week away. And when you going back? When you go back to the Carolinas?
Going back to 28th. Yeah, looking forward to just spending more time with family, But, hey, I think we should close it out. Let's give some pro tips, man.
Yeah, go ahead. So,
one of the things I do, and I share it with everyone. Everyone, says, oh, how come some people even follow, where I'm going. But, what separates me from a lot of other fishermen, why I'm catching fish, is one of the big reasons is in the spring. In April, especially Long Island. I'm not sure about South Carolina, what it's like. There's a lot of currents there. But here in the back bays, Northport, Huntington, in April, I'll go in the water.
the grid, Johnny. This is Johnny Grid.
Oh, we'll do grid?
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm just saying, what I'll do is I'll get in the water with a snorkel. I'll get in there with a mask and fins, and the water's crystal clear in April, and all my fishing
Yeah, it's also cold.
Yeah, it's really horrible, and I have the wrong gear. I don't have
50
the
degrees.
right. Yeah,
By the way, you know what the temperature is right now?
What?
I just taught. You know the what did I send you a picture of? Scallops? Bay scallops?
Yeah.
That was Jacob. So I asked him what the water temperature was, 41 degrees. All of his pots, all of his oyster stuff, you got to see the pictures of them with ice. Everything's all iced up.
Man, it's not fun. And I'm only using a 3mm.
But the water, yeah, me too. I use a 3.5,
Yeah,
but the
it's
water
horrible.
is crystal clear.
Crystal clear.
That's why it's the best time to go.
You get up,
Just like October.
you start swimming around, look at your favorite spots, but go at low tide. And then I'll go and I'll mark and I'll look and I'll come up and look at where, get some point and markers on the land. And if you're in 10, 20, 30 feet of water, I know where the rock piles are. I know where the sand is. I know where the drop-offs
Right, you
are.
see the sandbar, you see the drop-off over that.
And I know exactly what's going to happen. And I'll go and I have an edge because I know what the bottom looks like.
Now, that's why I tell you guys, even in last week's video, I think it was the week prior, that I told you guys to download Navionics, because on Navionics, where he's standing at the beach, he could actually see the drop-offs shaded if you put the 3D bottom on in Navionics. Now, I told you I pay $50 for the app, and I think you only get that shaded version with the 3D. I see the shelves. I see everything. And you mentioned it to me because you got a hot fluke spot off of Ash Roken.
Absolutely.
And you know, every time you cast into that, it's fluke.
Because I went down there with my gear, and I just swam around. I had nothing, no spear, no nothing, just swimming around. And I saw where they congregated, and I saw where the big mud spots are. They're like black, and you look and you see them, and they're all in there. And then I just go back, get my rod, and I start casting and working those areas, working grids.
Right, and then you know what tide you can get over there and get it into there and see when the bites,
Absolutely.
Talk about the grid, because you do.
grid.
You definitely work the area. You don't just go into that cast to that one spot. You do grid it out.
Anywhere I go, I start casting, and I think of it as a grid, and I look out, and I think of it as boxes, and I hit every single box. I never cast in the same spot. I work an area. I get some strikes. I get some motion, or I catch a fish. I stay in that grid, and I work that area a little bit to the front, the back of it, and you start hunting. You're not just fishing, throwing it out there. You got to work. People say, you got to work that spot. Working it means walk around, back and forth, up and down the beach, different levels, high, cast it far, cast it right in front of you. I caught my biggest fish in 3-4 feet of water.
I threw a swim shad in the back of Bird Island, coming out by Scudder, by the boat ramp in Scudder, and I threw a swim shad a little too far during a bluefish. Bluefish were blowing up, and I threw it a little too far, and I got it on the rocks, and it was out of the water. The minute I pulled it off the rock into the water, a giant fluke annihilated my swim shad, and I caught him during Bluefish Blitz.
Yeah.
That's what put me over there.
I love it, man.
So they're in the real shallow waters, and me and Kenny from Field and Stream, that I've talked about, numerous times, because we fish the springtime like there's nobody's business. I mean, we are out there on the bass. April 15th, every day that we could be out there, we're out there. But this year too, we are going to go spearfishing in the shallow water.
It's a move.
I think I'm even going to look for the winter flounder. You know what I mean? Start off with the flounder right away and look for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's an April fish you can catch.
When you're down there, and you don't even have to go down there. When you hit the moon phases at super low tide at the moon phases, you can just go to your favorite spots. You don't even have to get out of your car. You could see what's happening, and now you know what it looks like down there, because the moon phase kind of brings the water back. It's like a tsunami, bro. It brings it back.
Oh, that tidal coefficient is moving. And again, that's why you want to use that app that I told you guys, Tides for Fishing. You're going to see what the tidal coefficient is for today, just like you'll see the UV rating. But you'll see what the tidal coefficient is going to be in the morning. You'll see what it's going to be in the afternoon, because you want to know if it's ripping down there. If it's ripping, I want to know for a few reasons, especially if we're going to go spearfishing. That, if the current's really ripping, it can get dangerous down there.
Explain that coefficient. A lot of people don't know what it means.
Yeah, they don't. So, the moon, the tidal coefficient is everybody sees the water up top, and they don't realize that the waterbed, I have great GoPro footage, and that's what I love about putting cameras down there all day. And there's days I put it down there, and it's crystal clear, and there's nothing moving around. And then there's days I put it down there, and you see tumbleweeds and seaweed going by, because I'll scroll through the video. I'll scroll through an hour of video in 30 seconds. And when you scroll through like that, you see everything zip by really, really fast. And when that tidal coefficient is high, the water on the bed on the bottom is really ripping, moving. I mean, to the point where, 35-foot boat sinks, and we mark it on Friday night. We go back Saturday morning. It could be a mile east of where we marked it.
Wow,
because the current actually moved this boat, banged it around on the bottom, and moved it to a totally different location. And that's how strong the currents are. And if you think, you drop something, it's going to be down there, it's gone. I mean, the current is ripping, especially in my harbor, in Huntington, in my marina, where I dock my boat. You see where my slip is. You got to know what the current's doing. Because when you come back to get into that slip, if I get a west wind on an incoming tide, it's going to make it difficult for me to get into my slip. So if I train people on how to boat and what to do and, close quarter maneuvering and how to, get the boat set up to get yourself into the best position, because you overshoot it by, a little bit and you're done. And now you're discombobulated in a tight area. I see people with their boat hooks out, and it's basically because they got into the situation there. They didn't even know what the tide was doing. They come into the harbor, they go into their slip, and they just don't realize it's an incoming tide with or an outgoing tide with an east wind, So all of that comes into play being on the water, and like Rob's saying, so knowing the moon phases where you go and work the grid and fish and do stuff, it's very important, especially for the surf casters. Guys like you and Mark. Listen, I've surf casted, I've done it from the beach, I've gone to Shinny, Demo, all of them, and Sore Thumb. I've fished from every beach we have, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And I love going to the Ward Melville show and, listening to Skinner and to all the guys that are real, big on surf casting and writing books and whatnot. We go in and I listen to the seminars because what they tell you about, fishing, and it's for the surf casting guys. It has nothing to do with the boats, but it's just, it's always interesting to learn, the different phases and how it affects the fishing.
Yeah, and it's kind of like anything you do, but I refer everything to like jiu-jitsu, because it's like when you first start fishing, you're a white belt. You don't know much. You don't know technique. You don't know what to use. You don't know the gear. And then you start to develop and ask questions. Go to local bait shops. Don't go in there and ask for a spot. Don't go in there and be like,
right,
oh, where am I going? Go and ask, hey, what kind of baits go? Like, what's happening? What's going on? And get some data.
Get some local knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's what, you asked me earlier, that's what being a Bay Rat really is. It's the groups that I'm in and the captains that I talk to. We're out there every day. There's clammers out there. You're calling me from the Carolinas, giving me intel, back in Duck Harbor, and it's stuff like that people don't realize. Being a Bay Rat, you really get to know the local waters. Like when we went into the back of Lloyd Harbor for weeks, it was lights out. Guys go back there all the time, never catch fish. They go back there, they don't see anything happening. It's knowing which wind and why the bait is back in there and what, what did that. And that's what the local guys really know. We know what side of the bay to go, what side of the, where they're going to be. So that all comes into play. And that's what I love about fishing. I love getting on the boat and just going out there because, like you said, sometimes it's part of the adventure is really, putting in the time. Yeah. And I'm willing to do that. And the guy, you'll see the reviews on Google too. People write that. And that's what I love about it. As they get on my boat, they realize how passionate we really are. And I say we because me and Corey are, just like you, we're just complete lunatics when it comes to being passionate about getting out there and putting people on fish, making it fun for the kids when they're doing it. And, kids caught sea robins for the first time this year. I said we only caught 10 of them, and Anton caught 3 of them, anybody can go bottom fishing and put bait down, but it's really getting to know your local spots and being able to fish them. And I just love it. I can't get enough of it. And it sucks that it's winter right now and the boat's wrapped up. And, that's why we're making moves. We're trying to make things happen. So I can't wait to come down south and fish with you down there for sure. That's happening. Maybe you can come join me in Orlando in January. We'll be down in Orlando in January. February will be in Miami. So I know you're close by. Carolina is not far.
We'll swim there.
And we're going to keep it going. We're trying to grow that YouTube channel, so make sure you hit the subscription button and subscribe, hit the notifications bell. We're really looking to grow that organically. I am going to put links to Chef Rob in the description and all the stuff that we talked about previously. So anything that we talked about, we'll have a link so you guys can go and follow up with them. If you're interested in custom rods, you can reach out to Mark at Cow Harbor. If you want something custom from Corey, he'll whip you up a gaff, a fish net, a bait net, flying gaffs. He'll make anything for you. So we'll hook up Custom Corey with a link. and keep it going. But man, this was epic. I mean, look at us. We did 56-minute episode like it was nothing.
Yeah, that was this. I can't wait to do it again, man.
Yeah,
Kill it.
And we're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to do it on location, you know. So we'll do some when we travel.
Maybe do one in Florida.
Yeah, we'll bring. We'll show them, you know, how we do it in the warmer weather. And I love it. Get out some peacock bass.
Oh, we need those. Don't forget to encourage people when you see people that are struggling while they're fishing on the beach, and you got something to offer them. Pick and choose who you talk to, but there's people out there that need encouragement from fishermen that know things, and you can share an experience with them right there on the beach by just giving them a little insight.
Just telling them what color you're using could change their world. You know, no doubt about it. They sit there and they watch you catch it, and they don't catch. But you know what? When we do go for the peacock bass and we do a little of freshwater in Florida too, you got to bring the. I need a bag of the Chef Rob dough balls.
Let's go, man. You know? I got dough balls. You know,
What do you?
We're not going to reveal it,
Johnny. What do you know about dough balls?
You don't know.
You don't know a thing or two about dough balls.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, good news in the fishery up here in New York. December 17th, we had some good news that the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission voted on the recreational fishing regulations for 2025, and they decided not to change anything. So that was really good news for us up here, and that's good news for everybody. So they're going to keep it the same, so nothing changes for us. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and wish everybody a Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah, because I think that's still going on right now. We just had Kwanzaa. You just had a Merry Christmas. So great holiday season. Wishing everybody the happy and healthiest of New Years to come. Hope you guys have a great 2025. I hope we can make it as great as 2024 was, because this was an epic year. And I couldn't think of a better way to close it out on Bay Rats and Buoys than with famous Chef Rob.
You're the man.
You're the man, brother.
Kill it.
Love it. All right, guys. Check us out at sandcitycharter.com and subscribe to all the videos. Captain Gage and Chef Rob signing off. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. Be sure to visit sandcitycharter.com and follow Captain Gage on all our social media channels.